Ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of the scene.
Yo, what the fuck is up, Warped Tour? The state of the scene at SOTS Podcast on all social media. Sam here with Marcos.
I have a request.
What do you mean you have a request?
Can you give me a woo?
Just like right now?
Yeah.
Woo!
This is the best part of the message. And it only took one. We died for what he's fucking worth, bro. What's good, dog? Can you auto-tune? I was going to do a fucking Frank's part.
Can I auto-tune that? Oh, definitely.
I was going to auto-tune.
I'll do it in post.
Do you want me to do a little bit of that chorus?
No. I'll do it in post. I'll do it in post. I'm going to add the chorus in post. Why don't you go ahead and put your phone down and I'll add the chorus in post.
You never said that this would be easy, okay? Auto-tune that.
I had like a waking nightmare today, where I conjured a vision of the future. You know how in like the
this
Fallout,
better be good.
You know how like in the Fallout video games or like The Last of Us, you'll find someone who like died during like the nuclear explosion, doing like the last thing, like washing the dishes or like on a swing,
other stuff even,
right, or like in their car driving to work or some shit, right. And there's always like an audio log left that's like explains their whole day for like video game storytelling purposes. Okay, that's like,
I kind of remember.
Jim's been late from work and I'm kind of worried that like maybe he's been up to something, right? It's like their last waking thoughts before they like died. The nuclear explosion goes off. They're going to find our two skeletons sitting on this couch and there's going to be an audio recording left.
What are they talking about? He died for what it's worth, or what his... I forget the lyrics.
None of this makes any sense.
None of it matters.
Who's Fall Out Boy? Why are they mid?
Welcome back to the State of the Scene podcast.
So you were telling me that you're having the worst week in history?
Dog.
Yes.
I would say probably comparably no one has had a worse week in their life than I have this week.
Woo!
Dog, okay, so
yeah.
I washed one of my AirPods. The right one. My right ear is my favorite too. So
fuck, bro, get the best.
Fuck, dog.
I also hear the best in my right ear.
I don't fuck with the left ear as much. But
funny enough, I don't hear half the things you say on this podcast. We actually have to switch sides.
So washed it. And I kind of, what pissed me off is I realized it like kind of instantly. And like 1 minute later, I'm running back to the washer, like digging it out of like the joggers that they had been in, like just the pocket they were sitting in. But
trying to resuscitate it, mouth
I
to
tried
mouth.
to resuscitate, bro.
Trying to get it to spit water out.
It didn't have DNR written anywhere on it, so I did my best, and I came up short. But like I still put them in like a fucking bag of rice. I still nurtured them and tried to give them a proper burial.
You did the bag of rice trick
in my AirPod case for a while.
The bag of rice trick feels like one of those things that it's like your great grandfather would have taught you if we had iPhones back then.
So it goes back in the AirPod case. I wait 2 days, take it out, try it again, expecting like, you know, if there was water in there to have like dried up, whatever, go away. It didn't. Like it still wasn't working.
Yeah, it died.
So I jump on Amazon.com.
It's in a better place.
Fuck you, Bezos. And I buy like I had first gen AirPods and I get like whatever, the second gen AirPods. It's only like $20 more or whatever, but it's like it's like $150 or some shit.
You had one, you fucking loser. You were due for new ones.
This is my job, is what you forget. So like I'm out one headphone. Like I'm only bringing 50% of my game to this show.
Oh, I didn't even consider that.
So technically I can expense this. So
you can sit in the car and listen to music.
I could, but I'm at the gym, right? And like I want to listen to like, because it's either this, Sam. So 1 year fucking blasting Year of the Knife, and that review's coming up.
No, yeah.
Other ear, fucking Africa by Toto in the background because I'm in the gym, And like the playlist is fine, but like, bro, to do gym-like activities, I'm not feeling it.
Do you consider maybe talking to like the what do they call, like the front desk associate at the gym and being like, hey, you want to do something special with the playlist
You guys
today?
have Sirius XM Octane Radio? Can you put me a little bit of a Until I Wake?
Year of the Night feels a little bit more. What's the heavier side of Sirius XM? What's it? Liquid metal?
Liquid metal.
Yeah,
Liquid
yeah.
metal.
They got more some liquid metal energy to them.
Yeah. So I'm at the gym today, and this is where the week kind of gets a little better. I test that AirPod out because I hadn't transitioned over to the new AirPods yet. I still have the old ones on me. You know, it's a whole thing. Like I have to connect them to my Bluetooth, all this different stuff.
Sure.
I try AirPod on the right. It works. So I wasted fucking money.
So you listen to Africa for no reason?
No.
For absolutely no fucking reason?
So like out like 150, I think.
Was it Weezer's
potentially
Africa?
Worse. No. And honestly, I'm probably giving my gym more credit because like I don't think they're even playing songs.
You think it was
as good
worse
as
than that
Africa on the radio? Yeah. And what happened in the midst of all this that made the week entirely worse, Sam, is I dropped my Switch Lite.
2 for 2. Wow, impressive.
And for the first time in like 10 years, one of my devices had the fucking spiderweb glass break on the touch screen.
Brutal, absolutely brutal. So you broke your Switch and your AirPods in 1 week.
I drive to Jersey that night, bro. I was sitting on the bridge for like an hour.
I don't blame
contemplating.
you. This is a Gen Z
Worst
nightmare.
week of my fucking life.
Absolute nightmare. I probably would have called it at that point. Just like wouldn't have left the house. Curled up in a blanket.
You have a better week?
What is there left to live for if not my
Nothing.
Switch and my headphones?
Right.
You'd really rowdy both of your hobbies all in 1 week.
Bro, I'm really into the new Pokemon.
Did you pick up
game.
anything new? Did you start reading a book or something? Take a walk?
Slow down. One thing at a time.
Took up hunting? You suddenly became one
Took
with
up
nature?
hunting.
Yeah. It's like suddenly you're untethered to your devices. Like
Could
if
you
you
imagine?
flushed your phone down the toilet that same week, you could have just been free.
It would have been nice, like coming into this episode not having heard anything that we're about to review.
But you could have given us like a
Right.
45 minutes on Africa. Speaking of giving 45 minutes on something, I want to talk to you about patreon.com/SOTS podcast, where you can go right now and hear our top 50 most anticipated albums of 2023 streaming exclusively for only $3 a month. And with that $3, you also get a couple free stickers and some Discord benefits and the ability to ask questions on this podcast when I remember to post
them.
about it. Yeah, that's exactly correct. But hey, listen, maybe you're flush with money. You know, maybe you haven't had to buy
Maybe you
AirPods in a
got-
while.
Maybe got too many racks.
Yeah.
Is what Sam's trying to
Yeah,
say.
yeah. We got a couple other tiers. You can get early access to reaction videos, reaction interviews, a monthly sticker design, or you could be a producer of the podcast and show up in our video credits in every weekly episode. Plus, there's like a $25 tier where you can pick Marcos's lyrics for one episode, which
No one chose the stickly one this time around.
Nobody wants.
I had to do the
nobody-
legwork on that. I had to remember the lyrics.
We should actually introduce a tier that gets you to not do lyrics at the beginning and just
Be
like
funny.
give it like a clean $100 and we'll just kill it.
We also have a merch store.
Yeah, we get a merch store. Every link you need, the Patreon, our merch store, our Discord, all of our socials is in the
Playlist.
description of this episode. Yeah, that's correct. Every song you hear on this show is on that playlist. And finally, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, give us 5 stars, please, and tell us you like us. And if you're listening on YouTube, even better if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all that other stupid bullshit, please. Want to talk about a few bands in the spotlight?
Fuck yeah.
The Spotlight.
Yo, this week we got Dead Bundy and their new song, Out of My League.
I'm feeling blue 'cause you left me on red. I know I'm always my own worst enemy. She took my heart, yeah, call it a robbery. Says I'm a dick, yeah, that I make her sing, yeah, no matter how.
Pop punk from Cleveland, Ohio. This song is an anti-Valentine's Day anthem, and you can watch the video now on YouTube. Follow them at Dead Bundy Band on TikTok.
They're squeezing this song in right before the finish line. Valentine's Day right around the corner. Also want to shout this band up for having like kind of a fire name.
Oh, Dead Bundy for
Dead
sure.
Bundy kind of just
for
like
sure.
rolls off the tongue.
And as a pop punk kid, I also feel fuck Valentine's Day in my heart. Sleep Theory and their new track, Another Way Reimagined.
So when the bottom falls, my heart does the same. And I remember the words you never had to say. You let me think that we were okay, even though you knew that it was too late.
This rock meets hip hop hybrid from Memphis, Tennessee, have reimagined their first and only single from earlier this year. So they fucking got to work.
Ain't nobody doing it like Sleep Theory, okay?
They're already reimagining their songs. It's
Shout out
pretty
the
cool.
Grizzlies, shout out Ja.
Shout out the Grizzlies, shout out Ja. Follow them at sleeptheory.band on Instagram. And finally, Traveler and their song Homesick. Cinematic metalcore from Germany. You can watch the video for this track on YouTube as well, and follow the band at Traveler with 2Ls.mp3 on Instagram. Marcus, I posted a clip of this on our Twitter earlier at SOTS Podcast, and a lot of people said it's got early Volumes vibes to it. So if that's something you fuck with, definitely go check that out.
Ooh.
Now,
Bro, I fuck with all that. Like, Traveler's entire description is like kind of money to me. Cinematic, box checked. Metalcore, 3 boxes checked. Germany, a couple boxes checked. I fuck with Germany. Okay,
speaks to your soul, right? Shout out Germany. Shout out
and
the Memphis
honestly,
Grizzlies.
I love the .mp3 on the Instagram handle.
It's a neat throwback,
It's a
right?
nice
It's a
touch.
neat throwback.
Very MySpace.
I think a lot of other bands should be doing that. Like, if your name is taken, just slap that .mp3 on there.
If you are a band, if you make music, if you're an artist, your handle should have to end with .mp3 because that's how I know you make music.
Yeah. We
Like actors should have to do like .rec for record. You know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Medical band should have to do .blegh.
I kept popping all up. Joe putting all the fucking letters together in my head.
So we listened to some albums this week, I believe.
Hell yeah, we did.
The Breakdown.
3 of them. Well, I mean, 2 albums and 1 EP, pretty much. But we did listen to them.
Yeah, we did listen to them though.
First up, we heard Foregone by In Flames.
It's only down from here. You think you have a choice, but there's no other way.
This is the Swedish outfit's Furious 14th studio album, arriving February 10th via Nuclear Blast Records. Foregone consists of 12 tracks, clocks in at around 47 minutes, and is the, I'm assuming, much anticipated follow-up to 2019's The Mask LP. And this one, quick note at the top, produced by the one and only Howard Benson.
I saw that.
My Chemical Romance, etc., etc. Like, that should speak for itself at that point. My Chemical Romance, In Flames. Howard fucking Benson, bitch.
Weirdly, these bands kind of came up around the same time, or at the least maybe struck popularity around the same time.
So I am a first-time listener for first-time.
This is your first In
caller.
Flames record for real?
Yeah.
This is
fuck it.
exciting.
So I did a little like digging.
It's not the case for me, just FYI.
I was going to ask. I did some digging. I think this band still has 2 original members that date back to like 95.
Mm-hmm.
Bro,
It's impressive,
they've
right?
been around a while.
It's impressive.
They're coming up on a 30-year anniversry.
I'm not doing anything now that I was doing back in 1995, to be honest with you.
You're not
Not a
shitting in
single
diapers.
thing. Ever since I stopped watching Pokemon last year. So this isn't my first time with In Flames. Their album, I believe it's called Come Clarity, hold a special place in my heart for being a very good early metalcore record, bro.
Pause.
What do you mean pause?
Pause.
What do you mean pause?
What year is this? What are we talking?
This is way back when.
It's like fourth album in, like 2002.
This is 2000s. This is 2000s.
Yeah?
This is discovering metalcore era me.
You and I have never had a conversation where I guess In Flames have come up, nor have you told me that an In Flames album holds a special place in your heart. You're so fake.
Yeah, no. This is around that era where I found bands like It Dies Today, Bleeding Through, Early Trivium, As I Lay Dying.
Right,
like this is when I like discovered metalcore. This is when metalcore. This is before they started fucking around with metalcore. You know what I mean? This is before we started getting like Attack songs and like Bring Me and Asking and stuff. This is when metalcore was a little bit more like metal. I get a little more like your dad's metalcore, you know what I mean?
Those neck holes turned into V's.
It's like a little bit boomercore, if I'm being honest with you. It's a little bit what this is. Which I fuck with to an extent. What I'm curious though is, what's it like to fucking hear an In Flames album for the first time in 2023? Is this what you expected? Is it? I mean, I guess you have zero fucking expectations for this. Like you went in completely clean.
So. No, I had expectations.
You had expectations for a band you'd never listened to before?
I think it was that I didn't expect to like it. Like that was the basic expectation I had, where it's like, okay, In Flames has been around 20-something odd years. Like I've never listened to this band. So like that definitely means they're not worthy of my attention, right? Like that's like World Revolves around me.
Is this kind of how you felt about Anti-Flag a couple weeks ago?
Anti-Flag.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, exactly. And I honestly, it was kind of like a similar experience to that record where like I walk away having finished Foregone and I'm like, hey, well, that was kind of neat. This band's not bad. I can see the talent. I can see why this band is stuck around this long. Like
it's kind of funny to describe an album like as kind of neat and weirdly nail it so on the head, because that really does describe this album quite well. Like I walked away from this and it's like, oh, this is like there's like rich instrumentals. It's like it's weirdly low key for a metal album. Like it's kind of like groovy, and I kind of find myself vibing out with it, and it's less of a headbanger than I expected.
It's actually kind of funny because like sometimes when Howard Benson's name is attached to it, I don't always look forward to how the production's going to come out. Like I think he's sort of hit or miss.
It's crazy because when he hits, it's some of the greatest albums in history.
And I think that this album's it leans closer to hitting, on Howard Benson's side. And you're right, like it all kind of comes together in a really neat way. And on the surface, like I would close my eyes before and I would think like, yeah, this is like Ozfest type of like throwback metal, like throwback I guess nowadays, but
Ozfest
like traditional crazy, metal where maybe it won't resonate with me as much as I guess it turned out to, because you're right, like this is interlaced with a lot of groove. I think the song like Bleeding Out is a good example. And then there's a ton of like melody. Like there's definitely like arena rock radio.
You know who it reminds me of very closely of, but I feel like it's maybe a little bit of a chicken and egg situation where I think a lot of Bullet for My Valentine when I hear this band, but I'm confident that this would have come before that.
So I have a very similar example, and I think that the few OG fans of this band that we have who listen into the show might call us on it. But
what are you coming in with?
I listen to this and I'm like, yo, this is like if Black Veil Brides and Miss May I had a baby.
I think what you have there, and maybe what I have a little bit with Bullet, is a band like this quietly influencing a lot of these other acts that don't quite sound the same, but might take one or two things from an established band like this, who's so early in sort of like metalcore's comeuppance.
I think that's exactly it.
Or coming up of.
But additionally, right? I think that one of the things that kind of that kind of like appeals me about this band is that a lot of the bands that maybe they inspired a long time ago that are now trying to do their sound, this band is doing so much better. Like, this is that new Parkway Drive album, but good.
That's an actually very strong and factual point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is that, but like with actual creativity injected into it.
And I think it's also, it feels more authentic, whereas you come into a band like In Flames who have been doing this for like 25 odd years, and this is the style of music that they've essentially made their name
Cultivated
on
over the years,
right?
yeah.
So when you hear them do it, it doesn't sound artificial in the same way when you see other bands sort of attempt to mimic it, you know, like how I felt about that Parkway Drive album last year, and you did as well. Which is to say that maybe it's not as easy as just flipping a switch, huh? Maybe you got to grind a little. Maybe you got to feel it. Maybe it takes time to establish that particular sound, and you can't just decide one day that that's the style of metalcore that you want to do, or you can, but it's not easy to nail it. And then you have somebody come along who's been doing it for 20 years, and they got to like Parkway Drive, sit down, let me show you how it's done real quick. You know what I mean?
I think you hit the nail.
This
on
is
the
a
head.
hysterical way of saying like an older band coming along and being like, let me teach you how it's done, son. You know what I mean? I will say that while I really enjoy like the overall tone of this, like I found it kind of like mellow and like relaxing, which I know is a really weird way to describe a metalcore
actually
album, but
it's actually really impressive what they do with the intro, because it really lets your guard down as to like what the entire album might end up becoming.
the intro ends up being one of my favorite parts of this whole record. for
Yeah,
what
and it's like
worth.
it's a 2-minute instrumental, just really solid.
Right, it's just really beautiful, and I think it speaks directly. So the concept behind this album is essentially, what would your final words be? You know, we're all gonna die. What do you want to leave behind? What's the last thing you want to say? And like hearing like a melody like that intro, I think does a better job of speaking to that concept than any of the lyrics really did for me across this whole album.
Yeah, listen, I don't think that this.
I bring it up specifically on the back of how it was described, you know, into like what they were shooting for, that I felt kind of like the melodies and the overall tone really spoke to the concept of the record, but I think the lyrics kind of underwhelmed from that perspective.
And for me, this is an album filled with like a lot of examples where it's not even like an entire song is bad lyrically. It's like there's a song that'll have like a really killer line, and then the next 3 lines that follow are just really just boring rhyme scheme, boring descriptions. You know what I mean? Like, but like it's
not the
rope you back in.
poignancy that you kind of
Right.
expect from like the press release.
Right.
Like I feel it, but I don't necessarily like textually it's not there. And another thing that maybe is worth pointing out is that while overall I kind of like easily fell into this record, it was difficult for me to really like, I walked away from this album and I had no fucking idea what the singles were, and that can be an issue sometimes. Like you should know that 1 or 2 songs that were clearly the standouts that probably were used to promote this album. But when I finished with this, I was kind of like, you know, not one or, you know, that intro, ironically enough, but no other 1 or 2 song really jumped out to me. Like overall, I felt the album was good, but there was no like exemplary track.
I don't think it was a single, and I did mention it earlier, but I did really groove with Bleeding Out, which was a groovier track. And there were certainly, I don't know if I can say anything surprisingly about this album, is that it's actually really, really catchy. And trust me, like that can be a bad thing, because like I don't really vibe with the closing song on here. And like that chorus is an earworm in a bad way, in the sense of like you want it out of your head, but you can't really shake it. But there are a ton of other songs on here, like at least 3 or 4, where like that chorus comes and goes, but it stays right up in your head. And it's a really, I don't know, catchy overall thing.
I feel like in a sense, this band wins by playing the game by their rules, so that they don't put themselves up against other metalcore bands that I'm listening to from like a point of comparison.
Yeah.
So like when I listen to this In Flames album, what I end up getting is something different, and I really kind of ended up valuing that. And I didn't finish it and think to myself, well, it wasn't quite this, or it wasn't quite that, or I I don't think it stands toe to toe with these other releases. I kind of went, okay, this is an In Flames album, and like this is interesting, and you know, maybe there's value in me kind of dipping out from this band for like the last decade or so, in that I don't even have them as a point of comparison. Like I can just kind of jump in and be like, okay, yeah, this is still kind of cool.
It is fun reviewing something when you don't really understand the perception of the band. Like, because for all I know, this band could be coming off of their, you know, ask their fans, their quote unquote like worst album, or maybe even their best album. And so again, like you talk about like expectations, and for me, it's like only real expectations I had coming into it is I don't really know what to expect, or like maybe I won't like it. But
and my worst case scenario is that this muddles my nostalgia of what like I remembered this band being.
So in that same breath though, like I credit to the band, because I think that, at least for me personally, this does inspire a desire to revisit their older material.
Oh, I got good
and
news
I'm
for
not
you,
talking
bro.
like
You got
1
years
through
worth.
13, but like maybe like I'll kind of work my way back, right? And
I feel like this is where you would want to then go to the fans and be like, yo, hey, I checked out that new In Flames album. It wasn't bad. Like,
True,
what am I missing
true.
out on? And they'll be like, oh, bro, you got to hear some Clarity from back in like 2003,
good?
bro.
Is it good?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. You know, like you need to, this is like when you
Right.
start a TV show and you're like, I just want to watch like the important episodes. And they're like, yeah, you want to skip like, 130 through like
Right.
137.
Yeah,
like
the
it's pointless.
abridged
Right.
version,
Precisely.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm picking up this anime, but I don't have 700 years, you know. So that comes out this Friday. So go check
does.
that out. And what else did we check out?
Foregone by In Flames. We also checked out Dust to Dust by Year of the Knife. This is the Delaware Straight Edge Outfits' new, long overdue EP, released February 2nd via Pure Noise Records. Dust to Dust consists of 3 tracks, clocks in at around 7 minutes, and is the much anticipated follow-up to 2020's Internal Incarceration LP. Also important to note.
Yeah, this is the important bit to note why we were waiting 3 years for this.
So, this is the first output from the band without Tyler, their former vocalist, and now instead with Maddie on vocals, who originally plays bass within the band. And I think there was also like a little bit of pandemic sprinkled in there, which is probably why.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's
yeah, wait
like,
times
it's
were a little
understandable.
longer than usual.
The pandemic is the understood, like,
The catalyst.
the unspoken reason in every one of these. I think what was interesting for me personally, and what made it kind of hard going back and trying to see what the catalyst was for the change, there isn't much around this that I could find.
I'll stop you there. I don't exactly remember how the review went at the time, but looking back on it, I think Internal Incarceration was a bit of a letdown, and a lot of the hype that I personally had for the band really kind of slowed down anyway. You know what I mean?
So you're saying that for you, them starting over with a clean slate, you're kind of indifferent to it, right?
Well, honestly,
I was coming this more so as a perspective is that it was kind of wild to me that I found out when this EP dropped that they had a new vocalist. And then when I went back to try to like see what happened, I found out that like months ago, like their original vocalist left and they like performed with Madison. And I'm like, how did I miss all of this, you know?
I think part of it's not. I think just the ability to keep our finger on the pulse of every band at all times is challenging
Yeah, we're not
in a
perfect,
sense.
man. I feel
We're not perfect, Doc.
Yeah, I got you.
But I think that
I did enjoy that last album quite a bit, by the way. I think that the biggest hurdle with an album like, with a band like Year
I feel
of
like
the
I
Knife,
enjoyed it at the time, but I don't now.
the biggest hurdle with a band like Year of the Knife is that they tend to delve into a style of hardcore that I am less in tune with. So earlier when you said, hey, cinematic German metalcore speaks to us.
Right.
This is kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum where there's a lot less of that and it's more just sort of that raw, unfiltered.
Delaware is a long way from Germany.
Aggravated style of core music, and I don't immediately latch onto it as quickly. So I do kind of remember that album fondly in a sense that like, oh yeah, it was heavy. And I don't remember being disappointed by it, but I will say this. I also don't remember like it standing out from like a vocal perspective either. So, you know, I didn't come into this with any expectations. I wasn't like, oh, all right, let's see how they do with a new vocalist or anything like that. I'm just like, all right, let's pick up where we left off. Things are a little different, but sure, whatever.
A little different.
So how'd you feel about this?
I'm not going to lie. This is 7 minutes of just unfiltered, uncensored rage and violence, and it makes for such a breeze of a listen, just because again the runtime is so short that inevitably you find yourself just playing the songs over and over again, and I really attach myself to them. I think I can honestly say that for me, this might be the first bit of, you know, this might be the first heavier project that we've discussed this year that I've really latched onto.
Interesting.
You know, like, you know, In Flames is like a heavy band, right? But I mean like, you know, stuff that leans way more into hardcore, way more into like deathcore even.
This makes In Flames look like a pop punk band. So
yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like,
for
don't
sure.
worry.
There are actually moments where like In Flames gets dangerously close to that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Precise. No. Oh yeah. Precisely. Precisely.
To the poppier stuff.
Yeah, I got
but,
you.
No, like I think that, and granted, like we definitely haven't really reviewed anything this quote unquote heavy yet this year, but also we haven't really heard much that's.
So I feel like what you're
like
saying
singles,
is that
right? But like,
you almost didn't know that you needed something like this, and so like this sort of like fell from the heavens right into your lap this week, and it was a nice 7 minutes of bliss, and the fact that it's so short makes it easy to just like run it back over and over and over again. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It's like this is good outlet music, you know what I mean? Where it's kind of like, hey, let me filter my own personal like aggression through the like, let you like filter my aggression through your music.
It's funny though how you mention it though, because you say like 7 minutes of bliss, because you're actually right, because it's like 7 minutes of the dumbest fucking loudest shit you've heard all year long. And meanwhile, like I'm just kind of like vibing out at the grocery store looking at like bananas while I'm listening to the like, it's just such a like, it's such a soothing experience. It's cathartic, right?
Yes,
like, that's exactly what this kind of music is.
You said in one word what I tried to say in 40. Yes,
you got it. There's a lot of that on this show for anyone who's not aware, but you know, both ways. But yeah, no, I again, like I think that this is a really a couple of things. This is a great showcase for why Maddie, maybe even before this EP, has needed to be the vocalist for this band, at least in my opinion. This has really rejuvenated revitalized my passion for this band, and I think that this EP is a really easy recommend. I really enjoyed it. Again,
it's interesting to see this almost kind of work in your favor a little bit, where you have a project that you don't dislike, but you don't love. Maybe you're a little ambivalent about, right? And then they lose their vocalist, what would generally be the key member that sort of like defines a band's sound to a degree, and instead of being like, or you're disappointed by it, right? Yeah. You can come back into this and be like, actually, this is an opportunity to kind of like pique my interest or like recapture my attention.
Yeah.
Which, you know, hopefully a lot of other people are having that similar experience, because then the Year of the Knife can get off to a good start.
I think you're right, because that is sort of like the mindset that I approach the CP with, where it's like, not quite sure where I land on Year of the Knife anymore. I really need this one to speak to me, and it did. So I really do recommend this one. Honestly, especially like this is the start of this year is such a stark contrast to the start of last year. We're like right off the bat, fucking Enterprise Earth, Fit for an Autopsy, fucking Under, like 9 fucking like heavy albums right at the, maybe not Under Oath, but you know what I mean. And Worm Shepherd. And then it took until like the fucking beginning of February, I feel like, for something on the heavier scale to really resonate with me.
Okay,
And
sure.
this
I
is
mean,
that.
we've skipped over a couple of things like Lorna Shore in between and stuff like that. But oh no, you're saying from January. I thought you were saying literally from January last year to get to
Calendar
February
year.
this year.
Calendar
And I'm
year.
like, I feel like there's a couple that you're just maybe overlooking right now.
Right, but that's what I mean. Like a stark contrast from like January last year compared to January this year, and like I'm counting like the couple of days into February that this landed. In that, big difference. But yeah, Year of the Knife. Go
So you're
check
almost like
out
fiending for this. Is kind of what you were saying.
Dust
right?
to Dust. Yes, I was. Or at least the band made me realize I was fiending for it, which is, I think that's a good reflection on them. Lastly, we listened to The Artist in the Ambulance Revisited by Thrice. This is the Irvine, California outfit's 3rd studio album, technically released originally on July 22nd of Sam.
2003.
Yes, 20-year anniversary. So that was via Island Records at the time, and released again 20 years later on the 1st of February 2023 via Many Hats Distribution. The Artist in the Ambulance Revisited consists of 12 tracks, clocks in at around 41 minutes, and is the follow-up to 2021's Horizons /East EP. The Artist in the Ambulance from 2003 is like a minute shorter than this one, so I don't really know what they added, because that's my angle on this review, is that I started Thrice with fucking Black Honey the single, and I never looked back.
So that's one of the more interesting bits about this, is that it's fascinating to get this version of Thrice in 2023 when for years now they have been a significantly subdued version of that band.
Especially this last album. So I'm assuming you've heard The Artist in the Ambulance.
I had heard the original album.
You didn't like own
I
it, did you?
assume I potentially did, yes. You, I assume, did not hear it.
So I didn't. And that's
Because anything before the Black Parade
Shut the
didn't
fuck
exist
up.
to you.
Nah, I've heard Linkin Park, bro. Let's check them out. Shout out Linkin Park. So yeah, I haven't yet heard until today The Artist in the Ambulance, and that was this version of that album revisited.
A lot of people will posit this as being their best album. Do you hear this Thrice album and hear what they would have said to you?
Like, let me get to
You're
that.
building up to it?
Well,
Okay.
I guess I'm building up to that. But what I was gonna say really is that I think the underrated thing about celebrating anniversary dates is not like the touring that comes alongside it, because sure, it's cool,
Sure.
but I like sometimes, and Silverstein's a really great example of this, the events that sort of come about with that, which sometimes is literally like a redux, or in Thrice's case, a revisited version of that album where they can, maybe get like the production right, or get the production where it's got to be in 2023, et cetera, et cetera. And my favorite thing about why like anniversary versions of things exist is that it gives me an excuse, it gives me an event to partake in, to listen to something where otherwise it would take a lot of honestly, free time, and someone would have to really encourage me to check it out and really have to speak highly of it. And granted, like, a lot of people have spoken extremely highly about Thrice over the years.
But what you're saying is that it's incredibly unlikely you would have checked this out had this not happened.
Bro, I'm an absolute punk baby, all right? So I grew up on that website, and I remember that all of the fucking moderators there, fuck you, Jason Tate, shout out Ice9 Kills, absolutely loved Thrice, and they hated Alisana. So that's where I drew my fucking line in the sand. I was like, well, I like Alisana and fuck Thrice. And that's kind of where I stood forever. And then eventually Thrice came back and I'm like, hey, this band's actually really sick. Dustin's a really great singer. I actually kind of really dig at least like that first album Upon Return. And the second album was fine. I think we're like 3 in, and I kind of hated that third one, but had never listened to the Artist in the Ambulance. And I can definitely see why this album, and I'm assuming this is the fan favorite, right? Or is that Vesu or
So I would say this is probably the fan favorite, and then Vesu is kind of them riding that wave with an album that ended up being a little more popular.
Interesting. So it is cool because you can definitely listen to this album and see exactly which bands took inspiration from it 5-10 years later on. And the only thing I'll say there is that the magic in and of that does kind of like, or the consequence of that is that a lot of that shine dulls.
Sure, yeah,
when you listen
right.
to it, because when I listen
what
to
was
it,
unique
it's the same
20
as-
years ago, right? Sure.
It's the same as like In Flames, where I'm just like, yeah, this is kick-ass. This is very much like Miss May I, which has like been giving me this for years because that's what I've been in tune with.
It's essentially the Beatles conundrum, right? Where it's like they're the most influential band of all time, but if you were to listen to them today, they sound bland, and
Right.
everybody's like so far ahead of this.
But I definitely don't think that's the case.
And Thrice are the Beatles of post-hardcore, of course.
Yeah, and I definitely see that there's a ton to like here. That said, I don't think that I have like the out of body experience that I'm sure a lot of people had 20 years ago when they first popped this record into the CD player.
Sure,
and
reasonably
listening to
so.
it for the first time, and
You get
so
a real scholar's appreciation of this album.
that's
I think.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, listen, I respect if you've been listening to Thrice for all of 20, 30 years, that's your favorite album of all time and nothing's ever going to come close to it. I've heard a lot of albums like it over the years. I see a lot of the inspirations band took from this band and this album, and that's fine. But for me, like, this doesn't have that same appeal. Therefore, it's just a good album.
Right, but
as
how
opposed
could
to,
it?
like,
It's
a
almost like an
life-changing
impossible, like it's an
experience.
impossible
Yeah.
mountain to overcome for you, right? I will say this is that I'm almost disappointed with this album from a completely different perspective. Whereas,
Well, I'm not disappointed. I'm an entirely
disappointed is
different.
strong. I feel like what you're saying is that you're marginally underwhelmed from a very particular perspective.
No, I liked this album. It was more
Okay,
like
okay, reset.
yeah.
I also like this album, right?
Okay.
And I like it still. And I like it
Okay.
again. But it's kind of like a different perspective for me. So I'm going back and I'm essentially being tasked this week with listening to an album that I've already heard before, right? So for me, what I want to get from this record, and the nice little production touch up is obviously welcome, right? It sounds cleaner than it did.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm going to be honest with most people. I can go back and listen to the old album and not really have any issues with it. It's not a big deal. So when I look at this, I'm like, okay, well, what are we bringing that's going to like freshen this up? Like for me, the opportunity here is what can we do to kind of like make it exciting again in a completely different way? And that's where I feel extremely underwhelmed because I see all these features on here. I feel like they're not integrated or incorporated as heavily as I would like them to be. And in instances where we don't have features, I feel like now we're not even trying to do anything.
We've got a fucking assortment of features, by the
Right.
way.
And
We've
like I
got,
see a
some
Sam Carter
we've
and
got
it
an
immediately
all-star
jumps out,
lineup.
right?
Yeah.
And it's overall like I wouldn't say I'm disappointed with the features. I'm more so disappointed with how little they feel to have influenced these songs. Like I almost wish that you would bring someone in to kind of reinterpret the track a little bit. And in that
Yeah.
way you can almost create, you know, it's such a weird re-release, right? Because the fact of the matter is that I really don't need a polished version of this, but to see someone come in and say, hey, we're going to almost reimagine this and we're going to bring it to 2023. And in my head, I'm thinking, all right, well, who do you bring in to help you like bring this? Like, okay, you're going to ask Architects to be like, hey, make Thrice
Manchester
sound
Orchestra.
2023. And for that to just kind of be like Sam Carter screaming a little bit and like a little bit like part of the song, for me, it's kind of like underwhelming a lot in that aspect.
So I kind of lied earlier. I have listened to old Thrice and like bits and pieces.
Right, but you're saying you didn't listen to the totality of this
yeah,
record in the past.
And one song I've actually spent a lot of time with over the years is of Dust and Nations, which I'm pretty sure was on Vesu or whatever. I don't know.
I'm actually not positive either. That's not the Vesu song that I remember. The Vesu song that I remember was that fucking Music Box song that was so
a
catchy.
sick song. And the reason I spent a lot of time with that is because on Architect's reissue of Daybreaker, the deluxe, they had a cover of Dust and Nations by Thrice, by Architects.
Okay, so you're saying there's like a synergy here. It's almost like this was written in the start, like this was gonna happen.
And I was like, okay, I immediately attached myself to that song, thinking it was not a cover and it was an original song. And then one day I figured out and learned it was a Thrice cover. Go and listen to the Thrice cover, and actually I thought it was better than the Architects version, which is, shame on me for kind of expecting it not to be, but that's their song.
But they're both different.
Both different, but it's this feature from Sam Carter on, and I forget the song, on this album is bittersweet to me in that it felt like a really full circle moment, seeing like, this is like 10 years in the making for me, because I'm like, okay, for whatever reason, Architects and Thrice kind of occupy the same space in my mind just because of that same cover and how much I attach myself to it.
Sure, there's a 6 degrees there for you.
Yeah, and I see Sam Carter on there and I'm like, yo, this is insane. This is going to be awesome. And then the song is over and it's like, where even was he?
Right. I hear all these, and I see a newer artist like Holy Fawn, and I'm like, okay, that's actually a really neat new artist to bring into this. Like, I'm really excited to see what they might do.
Paper Tiger
with that.
or something? I fucking love that song.
Essentially, what I'd hope, though, is that more of their personality would be found. But what I feel like is that Thrice overpowers any element that these artists bring in. And what I end up with kind of still just feels like that first album all over again. So it's like, hey, the title track is still fucking incredible. Killing Moon is so good. Like the great songs on here are still great. The overall album is still enjoyable. Loses a little bit
sure
of
Killing Moon is the one with Sam Carter.
I believe it is as well. I just wasn't overly confident enough to scream it out. I think we lose a little steam in the back half outside of that title track for what it's worth. But like in general, the album is still a very good album. But it's a very good album I've already heard.
First time listener, yeah. Almost objectively speaking, that first half stands heads and shoulders over the second half, and really the only thing that puts the second half over the edge is the title track, which is far and away the best song on this album. Like, it is like the storytelling, the way that song keeps transitioning into like crazier parts is
right, and the sort of poetry that sort of dropped over it. Yeah,
it's a really great song, and it is like the best part of that second half, which is ultimately like just not incredible.
Like, it runs just a little long, right? And now I'm at this point where it's like it's running a little long, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no tricks left to pull out here. You know what I mean? Like I've already like kind of got this album pinned in a way that I'm like, I'm not going to be surprised by anything that's going to come in the later half of this album. Like, this is the album. It's, pretty much the same one from 20 years ago. And that's not a bad thing, like, on paper, but to go into something like that and be like, I don't know. Maybe I set myself up for failure by sort of like bringing an expectation to this that wasn't justified.
I don't know. You say that in this day and age where like someone reimagines a song and they fucking mean it. Fucking Imminence go into the studio with 7 choirs and 7 orchestras, and they come back with songs that sound entirely different to the original versions, and sort of fucking like Architects actually is a good example. Don Broco, like Royal Albert Hall type beat, and you kind of expect nowadays for someone to really take advantage of that opportunity and take their sound to the next level, or the sound off of an album to the next level. And really all that Thrice kind of did, to the best of my interpretation, because again, I'm not fully in tune with this band, is that they just really mimicked themselves pretty well, and that was it. But they didn't reinvent themselves. And I know it's not, the Artist in the Ambulance reinvented, but it's
cool to see this band
should be cooler.
It's neat to see this band sort of like reincarnated in a sense that it's like what's the word I'm thinking about? They take their older selves and kind of like reproduce that same energy.
Yeah,
You know,
it's kinda
they
like
take
a
their younger
very
selves and reproduce it
rejuvenated.
20 years later,
Yeah.
right? You know, but at the end of the day, this is like a novel idea, but an underwhelming execution.
Yeah, I guess I'm not the authority on this, but I guess I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, as an authority, like I could tell you that this album was great. I feel like in 2023, we can both say that this isn't as exciting for a litany of reasons from two different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's we've had 20 years of everyone building upon this type of sound, or alternatively, you know, as someone who is familiar with it, this just feels like a missed opportunity to make it maybe feel a little bit more special.
You kind of hope that a trailblazer would keep on blazing, I guess.
Sure, that's almost exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like innovators would keep on innovating, but Thrice are kind of satisfied maybe just literally running it back, and for us that's not enough.
It is funny though to see a band sort of like singing about certain like themes and topics and have them all still ring so incredibly true in 2023. It's
is
like
kinda funny.
I'm glad all the things we screamed about years ago hasn't had any effect or change whatsoever.
Right. Last thought here is like, holy shit, is Dustin an incredible vocalist?
Absolutely.
And then, like, granted, like for a lot of people, I'm sure it's like, yeah, no shit, but like, whew, does this album let you appreciate it?
Channels is the word channels his younger self. You know what I mean? And that's neat, especially
Embodies?
because it's been fucking like 10 years of like mellow, low key Thrice, which has its peaks for sure. There's good versions
Has
of
its
that.
valleys though.
Yeah. And this, it almost makes me sit here and wish that we could have just gotten a new album with this energy.
Honestly,
Like bring this Thrice
You're
to
talking
new material.
the artist in the ambulance too, like
Sure.
literally.
Yes.
Sure.
In a sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
The state of the scene at SOTS podcast on all social media. Once again, every link you need in the description of this episode. 5 stars, Spotify. 5 stars, iTunes. Thumbs up on YouTube. Don't make me beg.
This sounds like
please.
when someone's like a robber's performing a heist or whatever, and or executing a heist, whatever the verbiage would be. It's like, this is the list of demands. You're gonna go to our socials, NYPD, and you're gonna subscribe at SOTS podcast. And what you're also gonna do is check out our playlist and subscribe. You're also gonna leave 5 stars on Spotify.
Yeah, as I'm asking you to do these things, imagine I have a gun pointed to your head. In the news this week,
The news.
Fall Out Boy have released a brand new track called Heartbreak Feels So Good.
We said we'd never grow up. It's open season on Blue Moods. Light from a screen of messages. Unsaid, it was an uphill battle, but they didn't know,
New album So Much for Stardust releases on March 24th, but more importantly, the band has announced the So Much for Stardust headliner with direct support from Bring Me the Horizon, and additionally, Newfound Glory, Alkaline Trio, The Academy Is, Royal and the Serpent, Card, Daisy Grenade, Games We Play, and 4 Year Strong, taking place this summer in stadiums across America. Emo across America. Pop punk across America. Fall Out Boy across America.
baseball parks, the whole 9, bro. Cool to see Fall Out Boy taking a I don't know, I kind of feel like My Chem normalized it with their last tour.
Yeah.
Like, talk about just saying,
What,
hey,
taking out 20 bands?
I want to tour with these 12 people, and I don't feel like deciding between 3 of them, so we're just going to do it with all of them.
Mhm, and everybody draws the straws to see who has to play Ohio. Yeah. So so we talked about the album a couple weeks ago. That's exciting, right? Love on the Other Side was the lead single from that. So let's talk about the other 2 bigger important points here, and we'll start with the song and video for Heartbreak feels so good. So good. What? How'd you feel about that one?
It was fine. It's not as good as the last one.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it too. It was like I had all this
And-
excitement coming in the Fall Out Boy. I'm album of the year. I'm like, clear the calendar. Nobody else has to release anything. It's like we're finished.
But like that excitement kept building and building and building. Because I remember when we finished recording the episode that week that we discussed it,
We got Fall Out Boy tattoos. Yeah, I remember.
Rip Palisades. But yeah, so I streamed that song like another fucking, honestly, like 20 times.
Sure.
Between like the episode we had recorded last and this one, and like I was all in, like fucking betting the whole betting the car, betting the house, everything on Fall Out Boy releasing a album with only perfect songs, and so far they're releasing an album with one perfect song and one okay song, and
Yeah,
like, I don't know how I feel about it.
Now, how much of that has to do with what I think was kind of a swing and a miss of a music video? Like if we were still on Emo Island, if we were still a raccoon, if we were still saving people from like where the wild things are type monsters, does this whole song hit differently?
It feels really phoned in visually, because like sonically I'm sure that this song will fit in contextually on the album just fine, and I won't really think much of it when that time comes, but like the way that it's been served up to us, on the platter of getting a music video, having fucking Rivers promo of Weezer feature pretty much on here, all for that to kind of build up to really nothing. You said it off air, that this is like the most nothing music video you've ever watched in your life.
The most aggravating thing about this video is that it sets up a premise that is actually really entertaining, and then it cuts its legs out from under it by saying that we're not following through with any of it, because it's like, okay, hey, we're following
40 seconds in,
right?
40 seconds in.
We're gonna abduct Rivers Kumo, right? It's gonna be like this crazy prank. It's gonna be very funny, right? And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, okay, maybe we got something here.
Yeah,
and then
this
they
has, like,
immediately
MTV pranked vibes to it, whatever.
They're like, what if we just kind of give up on this idea and we get chased by fans around the city in wacky hijinks, right? And then it's like we got this like really kind of bad choreographed, poorly acted fight scene, and then some more. Fall Out Boy are absolutely awful. Fall Out Boy, goated musicians, some of the worst actors I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Emphasis on the poorly acted, like holy shit, like bro, Patrick with the voice of an angel, but the acting chops of I was gonna say a demon, but like
don't even point him out, because Andy and Pete are just as bad.
Yeah,
like just every line delivery is oof. It's like we should have just done a performance video at that point if this is the idea that we had. It's like, and also, excuse me, I will take this from a band who's not Fall Out Boy and isn't signed to a major label and doesn't have a bazillion listens on Spotify. Yeah. When they dip out from the theme of their record for the second song and film a more low-key, affordable music video. But fucking Fall Out Boy, we're already off of Emo Island and now we're doing a fucking like GoPro video? Come on. We're better than this. Now, all of this is forgiven because of the whole fucking Bring Me the Horizon tour, obviously, right? Like, who even gives a shit?
Yeah, baby. Fucking Bring Me the Horizon for the full run.
Now, the discourse came hot and heavy with this announcement, right? Can Fall Out Boy fans survive
I hate this conversation?
the Bring Me the Horizon pit? Now, a question as old as time, of course, right? They were saying, you remember when Water Park tour with My Chemical Romance, they were saying the same thing, right? So, now.
They were saying this when Knocked Loose toured with Bring Me the Horizon.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because the irony of this whole situation is that we all know at this point, a Bring Me the Horizon pit is actually a good time and not this life-threatening thing it was back in 2004, right?
Also, the people pretending, for the sake of the meme, that Bring Me the Horizon's not going to go punch for punch with Fall Out Boy set list wise.
Bro, we are running the ammo hits with the ammo fucking tour. We are running it back.
Ollie Sykes is requesting like seeing Fall Out Boy set list early, and for every like Immortals, every song like post save rock and roll, they're matching it with a song from Ammo. That Bring Me the Horizon set list is going to be Ammo heavy. It's going to be That's the Spirit
absolute
heavy.
fucking dorks. Have you heard Die For You or Strangers?
Right.
Their most two recent singles?
Additionally, it's not like this band it's not like Fall Out Boy, when teasing this tour announcement, was posting the fucking the lock and key, or the dagger and key rather, or the sempiternal flower logo.
Though if
were
they-
posting
Oh my God.
the fucking That's the Spirit umbrella with tears, because also like the tears thing seems to be like the Fall Out Boy thing this year.
If they posted the Suicide Season Girl, I'd have cried.
So like
Things are looking gory, aren't they? You know, they're like teasing it. It's like, it looks like everyone's gonna die in 2 days. Prepare to have your entrails ripped from your stomach.
I think a really underrated part of this entire news story is one specific other band opening on this bill.
Say it.
Alkaline Trio
the
showing
fuck
a
out of
fucking
here.
pulse after our dearest vocalist has been cast back into his own band, just forbidden from ever walking on the Blink-182 premises ever again.
They put a Blink cover in that Alkaline Trio set list.
Do you think he's got like
He's
some
like, hey, I wrote this
ownership
one.
by now?
I thought you were going to point out the Academy is, which I thought was pretty exciting, because that's like Fall Out Boy running back a tour from like 20 years ago.
So I think that one's really cool. I mean, you look over this entire thing, and like they're granted, like Newfound Glory is neat, 4 Year Strong is neat. But I think the next biggest one that jumps out
Let's
at
talk
me
about the
is
biggies.
Royal and the Serpent.
Yeah, Royal. So we're talking about
That's
that New Blood.
huge.
Yeah, something like that in Games We Play has me a lot more excited than 4 Year Strong and Newfound Glory. Like, that's nap time.
But like any of those acts, like I think we are anticipating at some point buying tickets for this tour and going to it, but I don't know who's on our date. And like, you know, we live in New England, so I know that we're gonna get fucked out of Royal and the Serpent. And
It's 4 Year Strong for sure.
Year Strong.
It's
for
4 Year
sure.
Strong for sure.
Which is like, sure, whatever.
They
fuck
play
my
Fenway
life.
without Fall Out Boy.
They definitely don't. So like, I don't know, but this is neat. I just hope that Fall Out Boy definitely has better songs in the chamber.
They might not.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see.
I think we might have gotten ahead of ourselves a little bit.
Honestly, I'm almost fine with only one good song on this album cycle. Just get me better videos.
Sure, I agree with that. I can agree with that.
Slipknot also in the news, having released Bone Church.
Burn my hands wrapped around the sun. Raise my walls, but the damage is done.
Bone Church is a new track, more accurately titled Yen Director's Cut Bone Church. Say that 5 times real fast. It was created in the quote-unquote jam room, which Slipknot has set up backstage at every show.
We'll get to that too.
And this song started life back during the 0.5, the Gray Chapter tour.
I definitely want to talk about the Jammer, but there's a more important question here that I think started with that last album and the one before it and the one before that, and has now sort of been completed with Bone Church. Is Slipknot actually mid?
Listen, I've been on that fucking soapbox for a very, very long time.
Yeah, but you were on it too early, is what I'm saying.
No,
you were on it too early.
I'm a
because
visionary.
I'm not saying Slipknot has always been mid. What I'm saying right now is that this is on February 3rd, 2023. Currently,
are
Slipknot actually kind of fucking mid?
Yeah, they kind of sucked. Listen, but that's not even just with this B-side. That extends especially to this last album, which was a fucking absolute chore to start and finish.
It came in hot with a couple singles and then just
well, and
it had a big Just Fine energy after that.
Slipknot fucking always shoots themselves in the foot, because this band are far better visually than sonically, by miles and miles, literally light years better at visuals. And I'm not sure how much exactly any of the guys in the band, Corey Taylor, have in in like directing videos or whatever it might be.
I guarantee
But,
you
like,
one. I think I want to say Clown directs their videos, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, and Clown is a fucking lot better at directing videos than he is fucking banging whatever the fuck drum set he's like standing in front of that day in a jam room. Can we talk about the jam room, Sam?
I don't know if I'm ready to get to the jam room yet. I'm sort of like baffled by this decision to release what is, for all intents and purposes, a B-side
With a
when you
video.
just had a new album and you only dropped like maybe 3 singles from it. Like it feels weird to move on, and it feels especially weird to move on with a sort of nothing burger of a 6-minute track like this. That is propped up by its gorgeous visual music video, but then sort of let down by its insanely low-key, mellow jam session.
They're way too self-indulgent, and I think that honestly the jam room is very indicative of that, because out of all the
Now,
bands
hold
that should
on.
have a jam room, it's not this one.
I do like this conceptually, though, right? I like that you're a band, you show up and you say, hey, make sure you got a room set up in case we want to practice and write songs, because when you're Slipknot, you can get away with that shit, right?
No, I don't like that. I don't respect that. I think
Why
that
You're saying the song would have been better if it was
I think
written in
you
a
have
tour
to-
van?
I think you have to have like better fucking material to warrant a jam room. Like I think that this band had at any point, whatever time they thought they had earned a jam room, especially with this last album, that jam room should have been absolutely fucking taken away from them. It should have been like repoed, I guess. Like they don't deserve the jam room. The jam room sounds cool, and for a band like Bring Me the Horizon, the jam room would work.
So Slipknot are kind of the argument against remote work, right? Is you need them to show up to the office because you know they're fucking off when they're at home. You know what I mean? So like
I think they're
you
fucking
gotta
off
have
in the
eyes
jam
on
room,
them
too.
You gotta have eyes on them. The jam room is away from home, Marcos. It's on tour.
立ち上がれよ禁断解き放てよフリーダム果てしなき旅終わりなき夢
Babymetal dropped their brand new song, Metal Kingdom. The video for this track was filmed during a live performance in the International Exhibition Hall in Chiba last week. And the band has a new conceptual album titled The Other One that is tentatively scheduled for this year.
In February, we're really pulling out the tentatively. We've got like pretty much still 11 months to play with.
Yeah, but like I think Babymetal are like they're like big time, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah, whatever.
there's like a major label there. They got a lot of bands to deal with. They haven't quite figured out where Babymetal fits in the overall release schedule, but they'll get there, right?
That said, Metal Kingdom is by and far my favorite song that this band has ever
Yo,
produced.
I can't even name another Babymetal song. This is their most goated track, and it's not even close.
And listen, like we've paid attention to Babymetal.
Yeah,
over
like
the
I've
years.
jumped in and out, but nothing really ever left a strong
Never
enough
stuck.
impression, right? With the exception of their feature on Bring Me the Horizon's Kingslayer, which I think is what actually drove me to circle back around and check out a new Babymetal song. I was like, maybe I got it wrong, like initially. Maybe there's more to this band than I thought.
Right.
And then I hear something like Metal Kingdom, and it's like, okay, so go watch this live video, and it's like the band is like they're holding like weapons from like some weird like video game-esque or like fantasy styled weapons, right? Like the video kicks off and there's like they're sitting on the Game of Thrones chair, right? And they get up and they walk. There's like this big choreographed like sort of like movements and stuff. And you get the crowd and they're going like whoa, and it's like it's powerful, like it's big, it's huge.
This is like the first time whoa-ohs have worked for me in a very, very long time.
I agree.
too.
I agree with that as well.
Everything about the song works for me. I really do like the live performance aspect of the video.
I think when it's this big, it might as well be a production. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like calling it live is almost like undercutting how like huge it is.
right. But like it's very catchy. It's very melody driven. It's not really what I remember like leaving off with this band on, like not including like that Bring Me the Horizon feature. This is really good. Like I'm really attaching myself to this, and to the extent that like that video is playing on repeat in my head as I sit here and not just like
They're
talk about
striking
them in the
visuals.
news, but like talk about them this entire episode. I'm sitting here like, oh, you know what band I really fuck with all of a sudden? Babymetal. This is sick. Really enjoy this.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. So suddenly an album that wasn't really on my radar whatsoever, I'm like kind of like sitting there waiting for that date to drop so I can kind of pencil it in and we can talk about it on the show.
Totally. Nothing Nowhere also in the news with their new song Thirst for Blood.
They call me dog when I'm on, rockin' steady from my home. Always naked when I'm packing, but I ain't no Corleone. Mama call her, tell her we don't got a problem. Freddie wrapped it up, it's final cut. Now I'm here to ball up. Rockin' Gucci head to toe, I'm here to fuck it down the door. She got the look, now the Freddie's fucking hook.
Featuring Freddie Dredd and Silverstein. Nothing Nowhere has a new album entitled Void Eternal out March 31st, which also includes, Sam, the strongest set of features
Absolutely incredible.
since Scary Kids Scaring Kids album last year, including, stop me if you know any of these names, Sam, Will Ramos of Lorna Shore,
Based.
Static Fucking Dress,
Based.
See You Space Cowboy,
Based.
and a lot more. You know, that's including
Pete Wentz.
Heartbreak Feels So Good, Mr. Pete Wentz himself. Believe there was a song with Census Fail on
Right.
there.
Under Oath is also going to be on this album. And of course, we just talked about Silverstein and Freddie Dredd. This is absolutely loaded with features. Now, Nothing Nowhere in with the release of this song and with the announcement of this album said that their sort of goal is to be to the younger generation what Linkin Park was to him. And I really like that mentality, or I guess I like the way that Nothing Nowhere just blatantly says what so many other bands are trying to get across.
Right, what they dance around or beat around the bush on.
But I like that Nothing Nowhere doesn't want to sound like Linkin Park. They want to inspire or mean something like that band does. And I think that's very different than what we see from a lot of other bands, where in a sense they're trying to sort of like mimic a style or sort of like replicate a sound, right? Nothing Nowhere is kind of trying to capture an emotion. And I think that's why this artist always remains so exciting, is that Nothing Nowhere is and always has been for the younger generation with their sound. And a lot of what that is, you can see in the overall breadth of features here, and also the kind of general shift in sound that this track and some of the other tracks have had, in that Nothing Nowhere is a little less of that bedroom pop emo act now and a little more of a grittier post-hardcore act.
Emo,
and
new metal, yeah.
And maybe that's where they're sort of speaking into existence, being that sort of cathartic outlet for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I love that. And I like that we're utilizing the literal veterans themselves of this scene to not only validate that, but we're also bringing in like the newer breed of
like bridging a
Static
gap in a
Dress,
sense,
See
right?
Space Cowboy, right? And it's a really fascinating, like, hey, an injection of old, an injection of new, an injection of everything that makes Nothing Nowhere interesting. And you're right, like all of the singles so far have been pretty special leading up to this. This one included. This song's a really cool track. It's got a cool little visualizer that pairs along with it.
I think Freddie Dredd absolutely kills their feature in this. Absolutely
Right?
fucking kills it. That for me was the standout part.
But yeah, like I think that, man, I was starting honestly to worry that a lot of what ended up being singles on Void Eternal were just kind of standalone single stuff because Nothing Nowhere wanted to
Like
kinda
at some
fuck
point we'd reset the
around.
clock, right?
Right, and we'd be back to like, you know, dropping whatever, Hammer 2, and it'd be fine. Like, I love Nothing Nowhere's sound. I have for a very long time, but I do really appreciate that we're leaning into this sound because if anything, Nothing Nowhere is really impressed when they do it, right? Like this isn't the first taste we've had of this. This is already like the third or fourth, and it's no longer like a proof of concept thing. This is like, hey, this album's already loaded, and here's all the other stuff we haven't heard. Here's all the names attached to it. I'm getting really excited about this album in particular to kick off the year. March is extremely fucking loaded.
Yeah. We're actually going to talk about a few albums that are coming out this March as we get through the news here.
And, you know, Alan Harrington, the Red Herring on Twitter,
shout out,
did a good job of like listing off everything coming out in March. But honestly, the moment Void Eternal was, you know, announced, and the moment we got that date,
Eclipsed.
immediately the one album that I circled on the calendar for that year, or for that month rather. Yeah, and I think that like this is obviously all coming together in a really neat way too, because Nothing Nowhere is going to be supporting Wage War on their North American run in a few months.
And I feel like everyone that looked at that lineup and they were like, I don't know about this one, guys, is suddenly running it back and saying like, hey, if Nothing Nowhere feels like sitting in between Spite and Wage War, maybe they can pull it off.
But hey, listen, kind of lost in this entire story of like, a lot of the new age, like post-hardcore bands, Static Dress, Space Cowboy, is the fact that we've got Lorna Shore, Mr. Will Ramos himself on a song.
Let's not kid ourselves. That's obviously the feature that jumps out, right?
What the fuck?
I feel like we got
theoretically
theoretically we got a taste of it of what like that Bill Murray Bix was.
Bill Murray. Actually, also would have been a fire name for.
It would have been
project.
a fantastic name. Animate have released their brand new song "Immolation of Night." Their new album, Heavener, releases on March 17th. See what I was saying? That album will also feature recent singles Elysium and Shade Astray. If you go to our YouTube channel, link in the description of this episode, we will have a reaction video up for that this week. It is a fun A24-inspired music video.
Yeah, it is.
You have to see it to believe it. What do you think about this?
Couldn't have said it better myself, Sam.
You got to see the reaction video in particular, actually.
Can I say one thing that I feel like?
Yeah, but I'm going to cut you off after
I
that.
feel like I'm the only guy who appreciates this, Sam. A good album title. I feel like a lot of people see like an album announcement, they're like, "Cool, that's a good date." That's a good track listing.
Sure,
those are good features.
Yeah.
No one be looking at those album titles and digesting them the same way that I do.
Right.
And I see an album title like Heavener, and like, I don't know, there's something that like within me feels like it is starting to glow, and like now I'm so happy about a good name.
It is a strong name. I'm not going to disagree with you.
I feel like you're not really giving
No,
me a lot.
I am giving with you. I feel like what you're trying to say is that you're almost like the, like those wine connoisseurs who kind of like you look at an album,
Yeah.
you're like, you sniff it a little bit, you swish it around in your mouth, and you kind of get a taste for it, and
I'm
then
gonna
you're
be real with
like,
you.
this is the genuine thing.
Like we just talked about Nothing Nowhere. Void Eternal is an okay name.
Okay, wow.
We got a lot
Sure.
of good songs so far. We've heard a lot of great singles. Void Eternal is just an okay name.
So
Immolation
much
of
for
Night,
Stardust. How do we feel about that?
Shut the fuck up. It's okay. It's
Let's
fine.
put a
It's
compare.
good.
I'm just saying,
It's
like,
good.
let's kind of like run down these album titles.
But hey,
yeah.
Heavener. Whew. Like that just awakens something. That's a good fucking title. Like there's it elicits like a barbaric response from within me.
You know what it is that I feel like you need an album title that can house songs like Elysium and Immolation of Night, like songs that are equally as
Right.
strong. Exactly. So it's like they had no choice but to go big.
And it's like you partner that with like the band name too. It's just like, hey, what's this? Yeah, this is a fire album title. Heavener by who? Who was it? Oh, Invent Animate. Shut the fuck up. That is so good.
They are the purest example of creativity that can come from the alternative scene. I agree with you, and they also absolutely rip.
I'm also
Describing
really
an
looking
Animate
forward to
song
this
has
one in
become
March.
almost like too easy. It's like, yeah, it's heavy. The guitars go fucking insane. Holy shit, my boy, he be screaming his ass off. It's like, goddamn. But I feel like where they bring in like story elements into this music video, and there's kind of like, so for those of you who haven't seen it, it's like, imagine like a metalcore version of The Witch, and that's 110% what you have here. But it's a real neat, novel approach. And you watch it and you kind of think to yourself, yeah, I wish everybody was being this absurd.
Yeah, being this creative, honestly.
Precisely.
And kind of building on what you're talking about, it's a really impressive feat, I think, to be able to introduce like a storyline in your video that's fairly coherent. That's not every fucking video this week. Where what I think this band does is like they they interject their song in really impressive ways where like, you know, there are emotional moments, and that's like where the music comes back. And like, you know what I, like it's
Elysium was slightly similar. It's
I think
that they
bands can
tied
fuck
the
it up.
music video to the imagery in a way that like when everything sort of crescendoed, it all hit at the same time. It's sort of like they were reading one another really well. And it does make a really big difference because it's like what that Slipknot video could have been. Like if the music hit in the same way that video hit, you have something
it's firing on all cylinders.
like exponentially great. Yeah. Stand Atlantic have dropped their brand new song Kill Her.
What the fuck is wrong with me? I'm naked for your sanity. I'm a killer, killer, killer. Sinking dirty teeth and swallowing cinnamon. I'm a killer, killer, killer. Got a little taste of my own medicine. I'm a killer, sinking dirty teeth.
The single follows the release of their 2022 album, Fuck Everything and Run, aka Fear. The band will be a part of this year's Sad Summer Fest, which also includes Taking Back Sunday, The Main Paris, Hot Mulligan, Mom Jeans, and more. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's start with the song Margos. We're running it back pretty early here. Fear came out midsummer last year. Brand new
They
single.
were also doing an A24 type thing midsummer last year.
Yeah, that's precisely correct. Hey, I mean, we're not terribly far away from a nightmare visual in this music video either, right?
Yeah.
Where I think if I understand it conceptually, Bonnie, the vocalist of this band and the titular character of this music video, I think is imagining people killing her, so she's acting before them and actually killing them, but then like has a flashback and none of it happened. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a fun video to watch if you like to see people get shot and stabbed to death and stuff like that. Stand Atlantic, Marcos, do you feel like they should have had to put out a new single? Does that
No.
do you know what I mean?
no.
I just feel like that album came out and it's like there was some extremely good songs on there. I feel like we could have wrote it out longer. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like we could be going on this Sad Summer Fest this summer on the back of that album, and we don't need additional material.
No, but I think that's why especially nowadays, and I don't think it was a pattern that was. It definitely wasn't a pattern that was as.
You're saying the market forced their hand. This is just how business is done now.
Well, I was gonna say that like the pattern now is if you have an upcoming tour, you are releasing a single. So like I don't know why I'm always surprised. Like you know, Escape the Fates hitting the road with like fucking Papa Roach and Falling Universe, and it's like I was surprised when they dropped that new single I Hate You or whatever. But like when you think about it, like of course they were, because they have a tour fucking starting next week.
You're right.
And
So
that
they gotta
happens so frequently
remind
now.
people in a sense, like they gotta like reinvigorate their excitement for the
Right,
band,
and
right?
I think that is your not approach or mindset, or your the way that you dissect that is so different nowadays than it was 5 years ago, where it's like, oh, you just released an album, you ride that for 2 years minimum, and then like, you drop like one song.
I just feel
whatever.
like there are some bands who are capable of getting away with that, and I feel like that is off the strength of their album. And I think that Fear should have been maybe not necessarily in the same conversation, but I think there are one or two songs off of that album that didn't reach the level of appreciation that I think they deserved.
I do not disagree, and I really liked Fear, but I think that you're approaching this. The conundrum is that inherently you think it is a bad thing to release that material, but I think that
Bad is wrong. Unnecessary is what I was presenting.
But I disagree, because I think that this is adding fuel, excuse me, to the fire, in the sense that like, okay, lightning is striking this bottle, and we want to keep it striking this bottle. Like we want to keep our foot on the gas. Hype is surrounding this band. There's a lot of people into Stand Atlantic. We have a lot of new fans. We were just on tour with I Prevail, Fit for a King, Pierce the Veil, where we're at a point where like you need to stay in the news cycle. Right?
You got to stay in the conversation. I understand that. So let me ask you this.
But I think that this is different now though, because in the past, not to cut you off, like you release a song like 6 months later, and you're like, whew, I guess that band just they called that album dead, and then we're moving on to the bigger and better things at some point. I think it used to be a death sentence in the past, or it used to be like a reflection of poor album sales or poor reception to the band. And nowadays it's almost the complete and utter opposite, where it's like, okay, you guys fuck with us now. We gotta stay persistent. And I think that, like when you were talking earlier about how some bands can get away with just writing material, the bands that can nowadays don't even do that. Spirit Box is a great example of that. Eternal Blue comes out, and then literally not even a year later, hey, here's a Rotoscope, 3 fucking new songs.
Okay, all of this is fair. All of this is fair. All of this is fair. What was your overall general sentiment on the song?
It's good. I like that.
Besides, what the fuck is wrong with me being one of the strongest hooks, and my new favorite phrasing. Between this and Water Parks, what the fuck is wrong with me is a great thing to sing.
I think that the song is pretty much equal caliber to the vast majority of the material off of Fear.
It does feel incredibly
to the point where like it could have been a B-side, maybe if they said it, if they came out and said it was, I'd believe them.
Yeah, we haven't diverged too far. And then, what's your general sentiment on the Sad Summerfest lineup?
Feel like this is the first time I'm hearing about this. Did it just get announced?
A couple weeks ago.
I feel like there's been little to no fanfare then.
I think part of the issue is, and
so what I will say is this definitely feels like maybe the most low-key one in a minute.
Your headliner is Taking Back Sunday,
which is like,
I think that's what's kind of driving it for me. Yes.
Yeah.
I think if Taking Back Sunday had maybe a new song, for example, a band who hasn't had a new song in quite a long time.
Hey, but they've got a festival coming up, meaning they got a fucking new... Or they've got a festival.
This band has been teasing that they're going to release new material for quite some time. But I think if you had coupled that with the announcement of this tour, then there might have been more excitement around it. Now it's Taking Back Sunday, and their last album was 3 years ago or some bullshit.
Is
or
Charlotte
4 or 5.
Is Charlotte Sands on this?
There were like 3 other acts that were select dates.
Well,
I pulled everyone who was on the full tour.
The reason I ask is because it's Taking Back
because if
Sunday
Charlotte was
and
doing
the
a song
main.
with the main, right? That does make sense. Potentially, I don't remember the 3 bands or artists that were also on this, but not on every date.
This is a really interesting bill in the sense that it's got like, I feel like it's got a lot of even competition in the sense that like the Maine and Paris feel about as big as each other. And I guess so do Hot Mulligan and Mom Jeans. Like, I guess like the way it, like the scale kind of sits after a while is it's all fairly like even. But the problem with it is that like maybe outside of Paris, there's not a name on there where it's like, have to go see this.
Right. Nobody screams headliner status, and Taking Back Sunday
certainly don't.
It's almost as if they won it by default.
Listen,
now,
I appreciate everything that Taking Back Sunday did for a long time, but eventually they
I'm talking about this band in 2023. Like,
right.
Let's not kid ourselves, right?
And for me personally, I'm looking at that and just like, it is actually sort of ridiculous that the Maine and Paris aren't billed above them.
It seems a little bit disrespectful. I agree with you. So those 4 additional acts, potentially 7 actually. So the 4 ones directly below are Andrew McMahon, Head Automatica, LS Dunes, and Motion City Soundtrack, which...
LS Dunes is kind of fun.
Those almost make more sense as direct support for Taking Back Sunday than any of the other artists.
I feel like that loses a lot of its... This whole thing loses a lot of its sad summer luster, like that name.
I agree with you. And then Cliff Diver, Days of Grenade, and Sincere Engineer are disrespectfully in the smallest font imaginable at the bottom of this. Whereas I think had I seen Cliff Diver earlier, I actually would have been slightly more excited. So note to poster makers everywhere and
self.
Tour billing semantics.
The Ongoing Concept have finally returned, and it's with a brand new song called Prisoner Again. the Ongoing Concept, have a new album entitled Again, which drops on March 31st, the most stacked date in all of 2023 thus far.
March is big.
The band's first new release in not 1, not 2, 3, 4, or 5, but 6 entire whole years. And honestly, welcome the fuck back. You've been very dearly missed.
Does it fuck you up a little bit that they didn't name the album Prisoner again?
A little bit. Like, I just wish they just title track.
Committed? Yeah.
We have a reaction video to this track over on our YouTube. Go check that out. How do you feel about the song?
How do I feel about the song, Marcus? It's fucking amazing, to be honest with you. It's like the combination we're talking about that videos that elevate songs, right? So here's the Ongoing Concept are back after 6 years. What have they been doing for those last 6 years? They've been in prison. They're breaking out. They get the boys back together, and they're playing some crazy ass post-hardcore out in the great fucking wilderness of wherever the fuck they are. And they're lighting the snow on fire, and they're burning their jumpsuits because it's like they've taken the shackles off and they're back to playing music that they love, bro. This is the most exciting, inspiring thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
They were in prison plotting.
Yeah.
And not only were they plotting, but they were fucking cooking.
Yeah.
And this song is like proof of that. This song is incredible. Video is an immaculate pairing alongside of it. Like, talk about like sonically, visually, everything running on 100. I think that the Ongoing Concept have been very, very, very sorely missed. And granted, like, that was a really great example of like very poor closure around the time that they departed us.
Agreed.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like I don't remember like a hiatus announcement ever officially coming. I think the vocalist of this band had a brother in this band who I think was also a vocalist that went away, and there was just so much like muddied, and like the whole the
lore for this band runs incredibly deep, right? But I think you can come in completely fresh, check this song out, and you'll just find a brand new band to love.
Yeah, this is a really great like Phoenix from the Ashes type thing.
Mm-hmm. And a great like
reborn.
Both a reintroduction and just a flat out introduction for those of you unfamiliar. Currents dropped their brand new track, Remember Me.
So when you take a look deep inside yourself, it swells and it stings like a chemical reaction burning your brain. It lies away for regrets, sharpening the knives that cuts through with deepest strains of hate. So little.
New album, The Death We Seek, releases on May 5th. The band is currently supporting Parkway Drive on the Darker Still tour alongside Memphis Mayfire.
Is that stateside?
That is stateside.
Really?
That's a Parkway Drive North American headliner. 3-band metalcore super bill.
That's a fucking interesting one.
It is an interesting mix, actually. I agree with you as well. I feel like there is a lot of crossover in those fan bases, so it's not strange, but I think you're going to be riding a high that's sort of going to like climax a little early on this tour, but let's not get into it. Let's talk a little bit about this brand new Current song.
This is a good one.
Yeah, this is the single. This is the single I've been waiting for, right? So I believe this is the third song they've released leading up into this album, including the title track, which is the one we got right before this. But this was the track I needed to sell me on the next release from Currents. This is the one that cements it. Like, this is the one that gets me excited. This is the one where I feel like Currents is fucking around and it feels a little different, and it's not quite like, I feel like we come in so clean on this. We come in so clean. It's not exactly what you'd expect, but it gets dirtier and grimier the deeper we get into it, and it gets a little more technical. And I think that overall the visual presentation for this video is very strong. And shout out Chevy Marie, who those of you may know as being the stage final girl for just about every Ice Nine Kill song in existence. It's really kind of neat to see her then transition and then show up in a music video, because it's as close as we have to like star power in terms of like a music video actor in this scene. You know what I mean?
If stage final girl isn't Chevy's like official title as part of like the touring crew for Ice Nine
Sure,
Kills,
sure.
then everyone's making a mistake.
Right, precisely correct. Now over like in general, like I'm listening to a really cool metalcore song. I'm banging my head a little bit. I'm having a really good time, but I am completely lost as to what the premise or the general plot of this music video is. It's like we got a guy. I'm pretty sure his girlfriend was stabbed to death, and he's gonna get through it by running through a hallway, falling into a door into a different dimension with a book.
Bro, this is that Ice Nine Kills trauma.
Bro, this is like watching the Wise Man's Fear video without any of the backstory going into it. It's like, why is this girl here? Who is this dead guy? Why are there airplanes? What universe is this?
If Invent Animate's video is a good example of like world building and lore, then this one's like kind of a lesser example. It's a little harder to follow, but I think a lot of the performance shots are pretty watchable. It's a little like claustrophobic. Like you're kind of like right in the vocalist's face.
Oh my god, I absolutely adore the band's performance in this and sort of like the atmosphere that's created around them. Like aesthetically, like it's all very pleasing, right? But if I try to think about it too hard, I get a headache. I almost need my metalcore music videos to start with a scroll now that's like, in a world very far away from here, there was a protagonist who antagonist through so-and-so finale. You know what I mean?
I'm not against it. There's actually potentially a business to be made there.
Yeah, and had I received a press release on this one, maybe it was all in the description of that, but I didn't have that to go off of.
One thing I wanted to mention, we talked about it last week. Unfortunately, one of their members was diagnosed with cancer recently. A cool thing I think that this band is doing for this album cycle is I saw it for at least one vinyl variant. All of the proceeds are going specifically to that member's treatment for their cancer, and I think that was a really cool move on the band's part.
Yeah, the band overall are incredibly beautiful souls. Absolutely no denying that. Soft Cult dropped their brand new track, Dress. New EP See You in the Dark hits, you guessed it, March, baby. The 24th to be exact. Lead singer Mercedes had this to say on the new track. The song is about consent. It's about saying no and having it happen to you anyway. It's about being followed while walking alone at night or being cornered in a bar when we're just trying to have a night out with our friends. It's about the lingering fear and trauma that haunts us long after the experience that happened. It's about how these experiences make us feel powerless and change the way that we see ourselves. All of this is visualized quite potently in the music video for this track.
Yeah.
Which is presented as a short film, both bluntly in the opening, but also very much in sort of like its overall visual palette and presentation.
I really like how much they lean into the bluntness of it all, and I think that yes, the visual short film that accompanies it, which is just the stuff that plays while the music is playing, it does a really great job of getting the subject matter, the point of that across, and obviously very heavy stuff. And I think that obviously all of that almost could be lost if the song wasn't a great one.
And what I enjoy about the song as well is that it is so matter of fact in its presentation of absolutely everything. Like, it's not a read between the lines type beat. It is the text of everything that you are seeing and hearing at the same time. And I think that's what helps make it so powerful, is that we're not crafting a metaphor. We are very directly going at the subject matter here, right?
Yep.
I feel like I've had my eyes on Soft Cult for quite some time now. Ever since I was sort of dismayed at the loss of the original band that both of these sisters came from, to then start this project, I've kind of been waiting for that song that finally clicks with me, and Dress was that track.
No, fully agree. Glad that Soft Cult seems to be, ramping up. Obviously, we've got like the album announcement. I think that
They're going on a European tour as well. They're headlining.
EP announcement, but yeah, that too. One thing I wanted to add, just lastly, Mercedes is a really good first name.
Absolutely great first name. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Like Tired Marcos, Wired Mercedes. Could you imagine if this was the state of the scene with Sam and Mercedes?
It'd be a significantly
it would be at the
better
top
show.
of
It wouldn't
Spotify
even.
charts.
I wouldn't even like fondly remember.
Are we
I'd
gonna
forget
name
about you
change?
immediately. Marcos who?
Real Friends have released 6 Feet.
I'm barely breathing, barely getting by. It takes my lowest low for me to cross your mind. I don't wanna have to be 6 feet underground to feel love. I don't wanna have to be a memory to feel like I'm someone you thought of when blistered gray.
It's a new song off of a new EP entitled "There's Nothing Worse Than Too Fucking Late." Sans the fucking
Without the curse words.
right. It drops on February 24th, so a couple weeks down the road. The band is co-headlining alongside Knuckle Puck on the Chillin' and Rockin' Across the USA tour with support from Bearings and Between You and Me, which is a very, very strong bill.
Is there a significantly better Sad Summer if you sort of mix
Yeah,
in some of
maybe.
these bands into that lineup?
I think that's I think
These
that-
acts were probably all on there last year, and I just
Right.
like missed it.
Well, so I was going through my head when we were talking about Sad Summer earlier, and we'll get to 6 Feet, the new song from Real Friends.
Yeah,
but
we'll get there.
before then,
Relax.
the issue I think that has finally happened is that Sad Summer was always going to have one off year before they could repeat a lot of the bands that had partaken in the festival before. And I feel like even saying
It's
that,
almost
like,
what
the
you
main
see-
has been there and all that.
It's almost what you saw immediately with When We Were Young for 2023. It's like,
yeah.
phew, you grabbed everybody that first year, and now you're getting like the B-sides the following
Right.
year, right?
Right. It's like,
Which isn't to say
182
that,
and Green Day
like-
are cool, but like the rest of them.
Which isn't to say like the bands on Sad Summer aren't good, right? It just feels like a mix that doesn't quite click as well as some of those like other lineups did.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about 6 Feet. Let's talk about that lyric, Marcos. Let's talk about it.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
And I'm paraphrasing. I shouldn't have to be 6 feet underground for you to miss me. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous line. It's
Poetry.
absolutely phenomenal. That's the kind of thing that like that should be the floor for pop punk. You know what I mean? Like that kind of line should be the floor. Like at your worst, you're delivering an iconic like little like metaphor, little twist of
Right,
phrase like
yeah.
type line like that. You know what I mean?
Well, on that note, like that's specifically with Real Friends what I come to that band for. And like, you know, granted,
Sentimental.
like, right. And you
Emotional.
mentioned earlier, like, you know, kind of, you know, a lead singer leaves a band and you're like, oh, I'm kind of expecting the worst here.
Yeah.
But like, this is a great example of a band that like, you know, I used to come to Real Friends for Dan's lyrics, and now I come to Real Friends for what I guess are just inherently Real Friends lyrics, which are just always happen to be really solid.
They still got it.
They still fucking
They
got
still
it.
fucking got it. And suddenly I'm excited for this EP and let's go. And I think this is a really strong tour lineup for what it's worth. All 4 of these bands, but as well as Real Friends, these other 3, I think all could have a banner year. Like it just feels like all of them are ready to drop like some hot new material.
I did want to get your temperature on something.
Yeah.
So Real Friends at this point had already released an EP, which is like a proof of concept with the new singer, right?
Yeah.
And now we're releasing another EP. Is that more indicative of the times? Like that's just 2023, or is it like can you read what Real Friends are doing? Like,
That's an interesting
is it
point. I guess I hadn't really
strategic?
thought about it too much.
Is it like, I don't know. Cause like for me, I was like, okay, we got an EP and now we get an album. It's not often you see the EP back to back. Unless it's like part 1, part 2.
I think that this is almost another scenario where you have a new vocalist. Maybe you want to not be singing songs with your old vocalists writing
And you've got
voice,
a tour coming up.
and you have a tour, and this is more so just like, hey, we need material. Considering we're co-headlining, like let's say we're gonna play 2 famous Real Friends songs just so people don't bitch about it. You know that thing that like you know when bands have that like new vocalist and they do that first tour and they play like, a lot of old material, but it's like the only time it happens and then they quickly get rid of most of it. You know what I mean? It's like that's where I feel like Real Friends. They're like, hey,
City Drive.
let's get new shit in here so we can play our songs, this version of Real Friends. Marcus, final news story this week. Our Hollow Our Home literally lost 80% of their band. 4 members are gone, but the remaining vocalist guitarist Tobias Young is committed to continuing on and has already filled 80% of that 80%, which means that I think they have like 1 more member to add back into the band to once
Such
again
a fucking annoying way to phrase
have
it.
a full project.
Yeah.
The band dropped off their upcoming tour with Attila because they're not quite ready to perform live again, for what it's worth.
Oh, I was still under the impression they were going through with that, so that must have been kind
No,
of like a
so
late
there was an
development.
announcement from the band and was like, hey guys, bad news. Literally pretty much everyone left the band. But like good news, the band's not over. That being said, we're not quite ready to perform live again, so we're dropping off of this Attila tour, which is kind of extremely understandable. And they're also working on new material.
Where are you with all this?
I'm going to be brutally honest right now. I think our Hollow Our Home never really had that song or that album that hit. So them starting over fresh in my mind isn't even a bad thing. This might be an opportunity in some weird twist of fate.
It's interesting because I think that you can look at this from a number of different ways. This is like Bear Tomorrow, right? Like we lose an integral part of the band, and I guess I am equating the loss of 1 member in Bear Tomorrow to the loss of 4 members in our Hollow Our Home. But the point kind of stands where it's like, I could see this band reinventing themselves in a way that really does make sense. I really do
You've been
enjoy.
presented with, in maybe not the most easily manageable fashion, an opportunity,
Yes.
right? And part of you know, there wasn't a reason given for why those 4 members left the band, right? And you can only speculate.
Yeah.
So I kind of go, hey, you know what? Maybe our Hollow Our Home's been going for a little while.
Yeah.
Maybe not everyone's as passionate about the
Well,
project.
you say
Maybe
that.
nothing's taken off, right? So now they've got a tour coming up and everyone's like, are we going on this tour or are we making some life decisions here and really deciding, you know, how passionate we are about this project? So maybe 4 people leaving this band and saying, hey, our heart's not in this one. And then having a chance to kind of like start over, like for me, there's a lot of silver linings in something like this, even though in like a flat statement notes app apology, it is the most dire thing you've ever read.
I think you can also slice it in another way, which is
Slice it.
you know, the conspiracy theorist in me looks at that 80% departing this band, and I'm like, 80% can make 100% of another band, right? Like those 4 members could go and be just a heavy, flat out,
Sure,
just
sure.
hollow of our home, just be the heavy part of it. And it's like, okay, well, what's that look like? And I think that's another silver lining too, because we've seen a lot of examples of members departing a band and then having 2 separate
Electric Callboy and Ghost Kid
coexisting,
immediately
yeah.
come to mind. You know, there was that split where it was like Alaska and is now like Floya and is also like one other band. Like
Wait,
yes, we
did Floyd come out of one of those bands? I forget.
yes.
Holy shit! I don't know why that-
I'm forgetting like the 4th
what the
pillar of
through
this
line is,
connection.
yeah.
Yes, but that's correct.
But I'll also be brutally honest here. With our Hollow Our Home, I agree. Like none of those songs, and granted, it was not for a lack of trying, because realistically, I think our Hollow Our Home, on paper, sounded awesome. In practice, I would listen to them and like the albums wouldn't really resonate. I remember they had an EP. I think it was like the 5 Stages of Grief or whatever. That was really good in my opinion, and then the rest of it, like albums, especially like the most recent one or whatever. I really like the last single, which was not from the album. I forget the name of it.
It's like a vision that never quite came to fruition.
Right. But I remember in all that, again, this is the brutally honest part, in all of those reviews and all the times we talked about our Hollow Our Home, my biggest gripe with the band was also always the clean vocals, which is what Tobias brings to the table. which is the last
Fascinating.
remaining
This is
band
fascinating.
member of our Hollow Our Home.
So you're saying the aspect of this band that you were least excited about is actually the only remaining feature?
And now it's the only aspect of
But
the band. Yeah.
I do feel like what's interesting here is what happens when you're trying to shoehorn something in and what happens when it becomes the leading brand that you're sort of presenting. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, maybe this vocal dynamic didn't work, but now when you're fully in control and you kind of deciding how to move forward. See, the biggest fear for me is our Hollow Our Home says, let's run it back. Let's get 4 guys. Let's kind of do what we've been doing, right? Let's learn how to play these old songs. And then it's just kind of the same band with like 4 new faces. No, I'm saying opportunity to do something
Entirely different. Yeah.
Once again, you can follow us at SOTS Podcast on all social media. Every link you need in the description of this episode, like the playlist where every song you hear on the show, you can find in that playlist, or like our Discord, merch, fucking whatever. Love you guys. Have a good week.
Good fucking. Blah.